Welcome to our new podcast. My name is Officer Skinner, one of the recruiters for the Chesterfield County Police Department. I'm along with my partner,
Elliot Anderson.
And we're going to be interviewing our chief today, Colonel Katz, talking about a little bit of things that are going on in the police department and the recruiting aspect of what's going on and how we can get more involved, meaning the community, the police department, involved in recruiting. The first thing I want to congratulate you and the department for the 25 years of first time being fully staffed in 25 years. Tell me how that came about, if you don't mind, Colonel.
Well, I think it came about because we set it as an agency priority.
Okay.
And in this department, when everybody works together and we're like-minded and we have a common spirit, we all work towards something and we get it done.
Right.
And it's something that it took a couple of years. But through the hard work of our recruiting team, including you and Elliot and so many others, and through really making sure every officer knows that their responsibility is to recruit as well.
Exactly.
Reaching out to community organizations, making it known. We've hit social media really hard. All of those things are really important.
Good. And Elliot, you've been recruiting now for well over, 7 or 8 years?
A few years,
for the police department. And you have seen this trend of people leaving, people coming. So were you surprised about the 25 years of, again, first time being fully staffed in 25 years,
Actually, I wasn't. I think that we've had a strategic plan, and like the Colonel said, it came down to community partnerships.
Yep.
The Colonel still has a community partnerships meeting every 3 months with a diverse group of people from Chesterfield County and who have an interest in Chesterfield County. And I think that relationship has led us to having applicants who normally may not have sought out police work, but because of that relationship, we now are seeing more young people who are first generation enter into the profession here in Chesterfield County.
And I have seen, I think the department itself is in their recruiting stage now because they're bringing some good applicants to the Chesterfield County Police Department. But the one thing I always talk about is not only the police department, but it's the community. Now, Colonel, how do we get the message out to our community that we are partnershiping with them and getting local talent to our police department?
Well, I think one of the first things we have to do is we have to stress that it's one of the Peelian reforms. The police are the community, the community are the police. There is no distinction. And I think it's important for members of both the larger community and our organization to recognize that we are part of the community.
Exactly.
We police alongside the community. It's not something we do we're not an occupying force.
Right.
We're a force of good for and on behalf of the community that we're all part of.
And,
right?
and unfortunately, they don't believe that we actually reside. We live in our community. Our kids go to school in our community.
Right.
So, and that's a part that you brought to our police department. And the PSA program,
right.
the Police Service Aid program, which is an excellent program that I think you brought it in from Florida when you came to us.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that program.
Well, that program really is I started my career both as a police cadet and then eventually as a police service aide and then into becoming a police officer. So I personally experienced the career path. And essentially what this gives us the opportunity to do is to tap into local talent. When someone reaches the age of 18 and they've graduated from high school, and we've already established a relationship with them through our PAL program, through our school resource officer program, through our cadet program, it'll give us an opportunity to employ local talent at age 18 from 18 to 20 and a half or so, and tap into that talent, giving people an opportunity to serve the community, not in a sworn capacity where they have arrest authority,
right,
but in a service capacity.
Right.
And that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for the heart of service. We're looking for people. We want to recruit local talent. We want to establish relationships with our youth. And we want to make sure that our police department's reflective of the community we serve. And the best way to do that is to recruit right out of school.
Exactly. And we do in our local schools. We have, especially at Byrd High School, we got a program there, or the community high school have a program there. We go in and actually talk to our students about law enforcement classes and what you can do. And I think if we can get those same aides to go there and say, here's what I'm experiencing in law enforcement. Here's what I'm experiencing in the police department, and it has worked. Now, I saw the vehicles.
Right.
Do each one of them get a vehicle?
As of right now, we have 16 police service aides and we have 16 police service aid vehicles. Awesome. We will not be furnishing take-home vehicles for police service aides.
I was getting excited about that.
Yeah, as the program continues to grow, I anticipate we'll have more vehicles and more people. I think we've got another 8 on deck for next year for police service aides.
Okay.
And one of the real advantages to the police service aid is that about 98% of everything that we do is service-oriented, not enforcement-oriented.
Exactly.
And so when you get into a fender bender in a parking lot, when someone runs over your mailbox, when your dog goes missing and you need assistance, you don't necessarily need someone with arrest authority to be able to come and provide assistance.
Good.
And these folks, these individuals, provide us the opportunity to provide prompt and professional service to members of our community with a skill set and a level of authority that's appropriate for those types of calls.
And see, I like that because that's the way you're getting a little bit of training in, and they can move transition right into being in law enforcement or being with the police department if they choose to do that.
And it does so much more for our recruitment.
Yes.
Because what it does is this isn't based on an interview. It's not based on a 20-minute sit down with someone and they give us the best canned answers and we move on in the process.
Yes.
This is a work ethic. This is, do you bring hustle to your game? Do you serve the community well? Do you demonstrate the level of compassion and the type of brand that we want as an organization and a first choice community?
Yes.
If we see all of those things, we can tap you on the shoulder and say, we'd like to offer you an appointment to our police academy, and you can advance your career up. If we don't see those types of things, then we can move on, right?
Well, good for you. I like, and I've been over and watched them at the academy through the training, and it's pretty good. I think it's an excellent program for our police department. Good. And and going back on some of the other things that we have been doing to recruit people is you're bringing in seniors. I call myself a senior now, retired police officers. One of the programs we used to do is when you bring a retired police officer back is for working the front desk, doing warrant services, but now you're using the skill positions, using them in investigations, in recruiting, and other aspects of the job. And that's unique to us in the past, being here 31 years. So how did that come about? Did you just say, well, I want to get experienced officers to be part of the police department?
Well, part of our responsibility, one of the reasons we exist, is to recruit and retain and develop top talent staff, right? And so part of that recruitment and retention and development process involves mentoring.
Right.
So it's essential that we have people who are highly skilled and highly experienced that are put in positions to help grow and develop our younger staff as they're coming up. We've got an excellent department. We've got a very talented group of men and women. But as they begin to retire through natural earned retirement, we have a brain drain. We're going to lose, and that's happening, I think, in agencies throughout the country, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we leverage that experience to the best of our ability, lean into our younger officers, and help them grow and develop in ways that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do, so they can be as successful as possible. We want to set people up for success.
Right.
I think one of the things that has helped us is the embracing of social media.
Right.
A lot of times in law enforcement, law enforcement agencies have an older demographic of administrators who don't always think about the folks who are 18 to 21, our main age range.
Right.
But in the last 2 years, we have completely embraced social media.
Right.
We're using Twitter. We're using any avenue, Facebook.
Yes.
We have some YouTube videos. Our recruiting video is a little bit different as opposed to 10 years ago when they may have been 5 to 7 minutes. On average now, they're 2.5 minutes. Get the information in, get the information out, as well as our social media coordinators responsive when people tweet back or put questions out there for the police department.
Well, and they're seeing, because we're on the social media, they're seeing exactly what we do because we're part of that community. And I always say that when we go out to recruit, that recruiting, that not only do you want to be part of our police department because we probably have one of the best police departments in the state, but also be part of the community. Right. So when you're showing that the officers are participating in the different programs that we have, athletic programs, going into some of the things that are going on in our community, which is part of being successful. But the question I would ask is, how can we emerge even more in our community as police officers? What do you see, Colonel, that we can be part of them, not only in the Sunday worship services
Right.
or other things that we're going, athletic program, but what else can we do to be part of the community itself as police officers?
Well, I think that speaks to another part of why we exist as an organization, which is
Exactly.
cultivating problem-solving partnerships. You know, engaging with our community, listening to concerns that people have about whatever it may be, quality of life,
Yep.
speeding. We get those complaints all the time. You know, how is it that we can be responsive to your needs? And when people see their police department as partners in their community, and they bring both challenges and potential solutions, and then we have an opportunity to facilitate that engagement, that grows a bond. And the more bonds that we build, the stronger the relationship we have with our community. We have an immensely powerful relationship with our community.
We do.
Like nothing I've ever seen before. I mean, it's I mean, every day you come into the station and people are bringing food, and
Yes.
I mean, we had to create our physical fitness program
Right.
because there's so much food around.
Yeah.
You know,
That is true. But it is awesome to be riding through the community, and someone just start waving at you, you know, and thank
Yeah.
you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, when you have that relationship with the community, it makes your job so easy to recruit. And we recruit everywhere. I don't
Right.
care if I'm just stepping out with you for a moment, or I'm going past you at a store. This is the recruiter of all recruiters right here.
yeah.
Because he will stop on the side. What your situation is, the word that he uses all the time
Right.
in recruiting. So again, when I see that, I said that's part of the community. So I would ask you, what can we do better?
Well, I think we need to keep our eyes and ears open. I think we need
Okay.
to, you know, when we're out at a restaurant and there's a server at the restaurant,
Good.
and that
Good.
server has excellent customer service
Yes.
skills, ask them if they ever considered a career in public service.
Good for you. Good.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
And I think, you know, the same thing. You're at AutoZone, you're at Best Buy. If somebody delivers some furniture to your house,
yes.
man, I mean, when I have high quality customer service interactions with people, I ask them, have you ever considered a career in public service?
Good for you.
Always do.
Good for you. Yeah, and I do the same thing. They would come by and do some work around the house, and I'll pop in to check on the family. And the first time I asked them, I said, you ever thought about being in law enforcement? Man, we need a good person like you.
Yeah.
Good opportunity for you. So, yeah, I do see that, and that's good to bring up.
You know, Darryl, one of the things I was to bring up when you spoke about community engagement, community partnership, most of our new employees don't realize we get 24 hours of volunteer leave a year
Yep.
to go back into the community to volunteer in the schools and reading books, or domestic violence shelter, or LGBT resource center. So we are encouraged to go back as officers to donate that time at county expense to continue to be engaged in the community.
But let's take it even further with our police officers that we're hiring now. Some of them are all over the country. We go to universities, colleges, military bases all over the country. So now we're starting to send those same. I think this is one of the programs you both were involved in, is going to that person that graduated from New York or JMU or some of these schools, and asking them to not only do a PSA, but also to go with us to recruit at that school. And I think that is where you really see the fruit of your labor, that you actually have an officer, and a kid will see that officer and say, listen, how did you get there? Now, I'll ask you, Colonel, what do you look for on that last interview on an officer?
Heart.
Good.
That's to me. That's the number one competency you bring. We can train all the skills necessary.
Yes.
But you have to have a heart for service. You have got to be concerned about others. You have to be compassionate. You have to be empathetic, and everything else we can train you.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you
I
see
agree.
that. You see that.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, your heart has got to be in it. It can be a difficult job,
Sure.
but it's extremely rewarding.
Right.
You know that in this position, you may miss birthdays,
Yep.
you may miss holidays, but what you're getting back personally and for the community, it's worth doing the job.
Yes.
I mean,
And I like that because it really shows the human side of law enforcement. I mean, we always say a lot of times that, oh, he's just a police officer, or that person, all they want to do is make an arrest. But it shows that part when you say that heart, that when you can go on a call and that person is at that door in their worst time of their lives, possibly one of the worst times of their life, and you come in there and you can either make that person really respect the police department and what we stand for in Chesterfield, or like, I don't want that person ever to come by my house again. I think we do that well,
Right.
Better than a lot of police departments that I see in the metropolitan area. But Colonel, I like it because you all the way in. It seems like you are all the way into what the success of Chesterfield County Police Department is all about. So with that, I say what our future look like for the police department. What do you want the future of Chesterfield County Police Department to look like?
Well, that's a great question, and that one of the things that we've been working toward in the last year, and that we're progressing toward, is really being responsive to the needs of people with special needs in our community. That's not something that historically we've not had a dedicated person for example, to help our elderly community who are frequently targets of scams and frauds, right? But we now have a position available to assist.
Wow.
Same thing with engaging in human trafficking, internet crimes against children. We look at our special victims, and we've doubled the size of our special victims unit in the last 2 years because we recognize that there are another reason why we exist. We're hitting on all of them, right? Protection of the vulnerable. When we start looking at those who are particularly vulnerable in our community, and how can we, as police officers and police personnel, provide services proactively to protect the vulnerable in our community, so that there's a shield and cover over them to protect them. Or if they are exploited, how can we be as responsive as possible to them?
Good.
Yeah, I'd like to just see us continue to do what we're doing. I think we're on a good path. We've built great relationships, enhance those relationships, look for other community partners that we may not have engaged as much as we possibly could, doing our struggle to get to maximum capacity and keep making it happen.
Yeah, I think we are a well-rounded organization. And I like that, and I can say that because it makes me feel good that to be part of a unit that we don't mind going and doing our job. And not only the law enforcement part of it, but the human part of it, the humanity part of it. So I thank you for coming to give us a little bit of your time. Ellie, you have anything else you want to share?
I think, here in Chesterfield, we also have a good work-life balance.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Our schedules for patrol officers, detectives are good, that they can work and do a great job and still have quality time with their families.
Yeah. We're going to be recruiting for a while because
sure.
I think that turnover is going to happen. We're going to get some older, seasoned people like myself leaving. But again, we need to continue to bring in good people to this county and be a part of the Chesterfield County community. So I think, Colonel, I thank you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Thank you,
and
Darryl.
coming by
Thank you,
and having
Elliot.
a conversation with the recruiters. And preferably we can do a part 2 later with some other questions that I have that we will have for you.
Sure, I'd love to.
With that, thank you.